Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mr. English. I'm Emma, and I'm so excited for today's episode.
And I'm James. Emma, before we dive in, I have to tell you something hilarious happened to me yesterday that's perfect for today's topic.
Oh no, what happened?
So, I went to this networking event for English teachers, right? And this very friendly woman comes up to me and says, "Tell me about yourself."
Okay.
And you know what I did? I completely froze. My mind went blank. I stood there like a deer in headlights for what felt like 5 minutes, though it was probably only 5 seconds. And then I just blurted out, I like pizza?
No, you didn't.
I did. And the worst part? She looked at me, smiled politely, and said, "That's nice. What kind of pizza?" And then I had to have a 10-minute conversation about pizza toppings when I was supposed to be networking professionally.
Oh, James, that's painfully relatable, though. I think we've all been there. That awkward moment when someone asks you to talk about yourself, and suddenly you forget everything about your own life.
Exactly, which is why today's topic is so important. We're talking about that simple but surprisingly tricky question. Tell me about yourself.
This is one of the most common questions you'll hear in English. Whether you're meeting new friends, starting a new job, going to a party, or even on a date. And here's the thing, it doesn't have to be scary or awkward.
Right. And after my pizza disaster yesterday, I'm ready to make sure all of you, and maybe myself, never have that problem again.
Perfect. So, listeners, by the end of this episode, you'll have practical strategies, useful vocabulary, and the confidence to answer this question smoothly in any situation.
So, Emma, let's start with the basics. Why do people even ask this question?
Great question. Tell me about yourself is what we call an icebreaker. It's a way to start a conversation and get to know someone. It shows the other person is interested in you.
Exactly. And here's just something interesting. In different cultures, this question can mean different things.
Mm-hmm.
In some places, people expect a very detailed answer about your family, your history, everything. But in English-speaking countries, especially in professional settings, people usually expect a shorter, more focused answer.
That's such an important point. You don't need to share your entire life story. In fact, that might feel overwhelming to the listener.
Right. Think of it like a movie trailer, not the whole movie. You're giving them the highlights, enough to be interesting and start a conversation.
Love that analogy. And the beautiful thing is, you get to choose what to share based on the situation. At a job interview, you talk about your work experience. At a party, you might talk about your hobbies or interests.
Flexibility is key, and we're going to show you exactly how to do that.
All right, let's break down a solid framework for answering, "Tell me about yourself." James, why don't you go first and introduce yourself? But this time, do it properly, not just, "I like pizza."
Fair enough. Okay, here we go. Hi, my name is James. I'm originally from Australia, but I've been living in Tokyo, Japan for the past 5 years. I'm 32 years old and I work as an English teacher and podcast host. I moved to Japan because I've always been fascinated by the language and culture. Plus, I'm a huge anime fan, which definitely influenced my decision.
Perfect. See how natural that sounded? Now let me try. Hello, I'm Emma. I'm from Canada, specifically from Vancouver. I'm 29 years old, and I'm an English teacher and content creator. I actually started teaching English while traveling through South America, and I fell in love with helping people communicate across languages.
Excellent. Now let's break down what we both just did. We covered several key areas. First, name and origin.
Yes, where you're from is usually a great conversation starter because people love talking about different places. You can say, "I'm from a country or city," or "I'm originally from this place, but now I live in this place," or even, "I was born in a place, but I grew up in another."
Next, we mentioned our age and occupation. Now, age is optional. Some people prefer not to share it, especially in professional settings, and that's totally fine.
Absolutely. But occupation or what you do is usually important. You can say, "I work as a job title," I'm a profession. I'm currently studying a subject. Or, I'm a student at a university or school.
And notice how we both added a little personal detail. I mentioned why I moved to Japan, and Emma mentioned how she started teaching.
Yes, this is what makes your introduction memorable. It gives people something to connect with or ask about. It's like giving them a conversation hook.
Now let's talk about other things you can include: family, pets, hobbies, and interests.
Right. These are especially good for social situations. Let me add to my introduction. I have one younger brother named Tyler, who's a musician. He plays guitar in a band. And I have a golden retriever named Charlie, who is absolutely the love of my life. He's 7 years old and the most photogenic dog you'll ever meet.
I can tell you really love that dog.
I do. And that's the point. When you talk about things you love, your energy changes. People can hear the enthusiasm in your voice.
So true. Let me add mine. I come from a small family, just me, my mom, and my dad. My mom is a nurse and my dad is a chef, which means I grew up with amazing food. I don't have any pets right now, but when I was growing up, we had a cat named Whiskers, who lived to be 19 years old.
Oh, see, now I want to ask you about your dad's cooking. That's exactly what a good introduction does. It invites questions.
Perfect example.
Now let's talk about something fun. Sharing your favorites and hobbies. This is where your personality really shines through.
And this is great for making friends or connecting with people socially. Let me show you. In my free time, I love reading science fiction novels. I'm currently reading a book about time travel. I also enjoy hiking, especially here in Japan where there are incredible mountain trails. And I'm a terrible but enthusiastic cook. I love experimenting with fusion recipes, mixing Australian and Japanese ingredients.
See how specific that was? James didn't just say, I like reading. He said science fiction and even mentioned what he's reading now. That specificity makes it interesting.
Exactly. Your turn, Emma.
Okay, I'm really into fitness. I do yoga every morning, and I've recently gotten into rock climbing, which is both terrifying and amazing. I also love photography. I'm always taking pictures of nature and street scenes in whatever city I'm in. And I'm obsessed with trying new coffee shops. I think I've been to every cafe in Tokyo at this point.
That's dedication. And I love how you mentioned something you find terrifying but do anyway. That shows personality.
Thank you. Now here's something interesting. You can also share your likes and dislikes to add more personality.
Right. For example, I love spicy food, the hotter the better. But I absolutely cannot stand mushrooms. I know, everyone loves mushrooms, but I just can't do it.
Interesting. For me, I love cold weather and winter. I know that's weird, but I find it cozy. But I really dislike crowded places. They make me anxious. So living in Tokyo has been an adjustment.
See what Emma just did? She was honest about a challenge, living in a crowded city when you don't like crowds. That vulnerability makes you relatable.
Exactly. You don't have to be perfect. In fact, sharing small quirks or challenges makes you more human and interesting.
Now let's talk about useful phrases for this section. I'm really into, I'm passionate about, I enjoy. In my free time, I love, but I can't stand. I'm a big fan of.
And for things you dislike, I'm not a fan of. I don't really enjoy. I can't stand. I'm not crazy about.
All right, I want to tell you all a story about when this question actually helped me make a really good friend.
Ooh, I love this. Tell us.
So, about 3 years ago, I was at a language exchange event in Tokyo, where Japanese people learning English meet English speakers learning Japanese, Chinese.
Right.
I was sitting alone, feeling a bit awkward, when this Japanese guy sat next to me and asked, "Tell me about yourself." I used the framework we're teaching you today. I mentioned I was from Australia, I loved anime, and I was learning Japanese. And when I mentioned anime, his whole face lit up. Turns out, he was a manga artist.
No way!
Yes! And we ended up talking for 2 hours about our favorite series, storytelling, art, everything. Now, 3 years later, he's one of my closest friends in Japan. We meet up regularly, and he's even teaching me how to draw.
That's such a perfect example of how one good introduction can change your life. The detail you shared, loving anime, was the key that unlocked that friendship.
Exactly. If I just said, I'm a teacher, and left it at that, we might never have connected.
I have a similar story. When I first moved to Japan, I was really lonely. I didn't know anyone, so I joined a photography club specifically to meet people. At the first meeting, everyone had to introduce themselves. When I mentioned I loved street photography and coffee shops, another woman said, "Oh my God, me too. We should go shooting together."
And did you?
We went the next weekend, and now she's become like a sister to me. We explore the city together, take photos, try new cafes. She's been such an important part of my life here.
These stories show something important. Being specific and genuine in your introduction opens doors. You're not just reciting facts, you're inviting connection.
Now let's talk about how to adapt your answer depending on where you are.
Right? Because tell me about yourself at a job interview is different from tell me about yourself at a party, right?
Exactly. Let's break it down. At a job interview, you want to focus on education, work experience, professional skills, and career goals. Keep it relevant to the position and concise, about 1 to 2 minutes. For example, I'm a software developer with 5 years of experience in mobile app development. I graduated from a university with a degree in computer science, and I'm passionate about creating user-friendly interfaces.
Mm-hmm. Very professional. Now, at a social event or party, you'd focus more on hobbies, interests, fun facts, and personality. Be warm and engaging. For example, I'm James. I teach English here in Tokyo. I'm originally from Australia and I moved here because of my love for anime and Japanese culture. In my free time, I love hiking and trying to cook fusion dishes, though I'm still learning.
And on a first date, you'd want to balance personal and fun information. Share interests and values. Be authentic but not overwhelming. For example, I'm Emma, I'm from Canada, but I've been living in Tokyo for a few years. I teach English, and I'm really into photography and yoga. I love exploring new places and trying different foods. I'm always looking for the best coffee in town.
Right. And when meeting a new neighbor or classmate, be friendly and approachable. Share relevant local information. For example, hi, I'm James. I just moved into apartment 3B. I'm an English teacher, and I'm from Australia originally. I'm still getting to know the neighborhood. Any recommendations for good restaurants around here?
See how each situation calls for different information? You're always answering the same question, but you're customizing your answer.
All right, let's talk about some common mistakes people make when answering this question.
Mistake number 1. Sharing too much too fast. Some people get nervous and start telling their entire life story, where they were born, every school they attended, every job they've had, their medical history.
Please don't share your medical history when someone asks you to tell them about yourself.
Right. Keep it concise. Remember, movie trailer, not the whole movie.
Mistake number 2, being too vague or boring. If you just say, I'm John, I'm 25, I'm a student, and then stop, that doesn't give the other person anything to work with.
Exactly. Add at least one interesting detail or personal touch.
Mistake number 3, apologizing or being too negative. Don't start with, oh, I'm not very interesting, but, or, sorry, I'm not good at talking about myself.
Yes. Even if you feel nervous, project confidence. You are interesting, you just need to share it.
Mistake number 4, speaking in a monotone voice. This is huge. Even if your words are interesting, if you say them with no energy, people won't engage.
Exactly. Smile when you talk. Even on the phone, people can hear a smile in your voice. Show enthusiasm about the things you love.
Mistake number 5, forgetting to ask questions back. After you introduce yourself, show interest in the other person. Ask them questions too. Conversation is a two-way street.
Great point. You can say, "What about you?" "How about yourself?" Or, "I'd love to hear about you too."
All right, listeners, now it's your turn to practice.
We're going to give you 30 seconds of silence. Well, we'll put some gentle music, and we want you to practice introducing yourself out loud.
Use the framework we taught you: name and origin, age, which is optional, and occupation, one personal detail or story, a hobby or interest, and something you love or dislike.
Don't worry about being perfect. Just practice speaking. Ready?
Your 30 seconds starts.
Great job, everyone. How did that feel?
Remember, this gets easier with practice. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes.
And here's a fun homework assignment. Write your introduction in the comments on our YouTube channel or social media. We want to get to know you.
Yes, and we'll reply to as many as we can. It's a great way to practice your writing, too.
Before we go, let's do a quick recap. Tell me about yourself is a common question in English-speaking situations, an opportunity to connect, not something to fear. Flexible, you can adapt it to any situation, more engaging when you include specific, personal details, and a chance to show your personality.
And remember, you don't have to be perfect. Just be genuine, be specific, and be yourself.
Exactly. Your quirks, your interests, your story, that's what makes you interesting.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Mr. English.
If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with anyone learning English.
And if you have topics you'd like us to cover, let us know in the comments.
Until next time, keep practicing, keep learning.
And keep speaking English.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.